Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review slash comparison. And man, it has been such a long time since I've taken a look at a Star Wars Black Series figure. I still buy them from time to time, but I haven't reviewed one in probably a couple of years. It's been forever. But we have one I'm pretty excited about today. What we have here is the brand new Star Wars Black Series Book of Boba Fett Mando. And I'm pretty hyped up about this figure, not only because it looks awesome, but I've also heard some really good things about it. A lot of people out there are saying that it's better than all the import Mando figures. I don't know if I believe all that, but the figure does look really good, so I'm excited about it. So let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off with the packaging. Through the window, you are able to see Mando along with the accessories that he comes with. On the side, we get some dope looking artwork. On the back, we get that same artwork and then some information about Mando, then a bunch of bullshit down here. But enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and get Mando out and take a look. Ooh, okay, so right out of the box, Mando is really impressive. Check that out. This is a really great looking figure. Hasbro did some nice work on him, and I'll say that he's definitely a step above your average Black Series figure. He looks really nice. Look at that silver armor. They did a great job with that. The sculpting work is really nice. Everything about it, man. This is a great looking figure. I don't know if I'm ready to crown him, you know, the greatest Mandalorian figure ever and all that, but I will say there are things that he does better than pretty much all the other Mandos out there. And the main thing is the size of the helmet in comparison to like the upper chest. I think that all looks really good, and it's definitely the best I've seen, you know. Like, the proportions on him are perfect. The head is just the right size, you know. It looks big enough to fit a human head in there, but at the same time, it doesn't look so big that it's like goofy, you know. So yeah, they really did a great job with that. Definitely seems like that's something that they focused on and, you know, wanted to make sure to get it right. But man, look at that. That's a great looking figure. And we'll compare him to the other Mando figures in just a minute here, but I wanted to give him some time to shine on his own because, yeah, man, this guy turned out nice. Let's go ahead and take off the jetpack. The jetpack plugs into the back here. And then, as you could see, he's got this really nice soft goods cape. It's got some, like, rips here at the bottom. It's like a stretchy material. But man, yeah, I think that looks really good. And it's nice to get some soft goods on a Mando figure from Hasbro. I believe this may be the first time that they've done that for him in Black Series, which is kind of weird because I feel like they've always kind of had soft goods around within the line. I think since the beginning, right? Like, didn't Darth Maul have a little bit of soft goods? So it's weird that it took so long to get a cape for Mando, but they finally got around to it, and I think they did a great job. And, you know, if you want to plug this in, you just kind of move the cape to the side and it plugs right in there. Then you kind of have to adjust it how you want it. But yeah, man, I'm really impressed with how good this figure looks. And close up, the details on Mando are looking really nice. Starting off at the head, I think they did a great job on this helmet. This is definitely the best Mandalorian helmet that I've seen on a figure. I love the way it looks. It's really clean. The sculpting work is nice. The details look good. I love the way the visor looks. Everything about this is really well done, and it's a great looking helmet. And it looks good along with the upper torso, which is really important. A lot of times I feel like Mandalorian figures are kind of like small in the upper torso, then you have the big helmet and it kind of looks weird. But with this one, they did a great job with all that area. And moving down to the body here, the armor is looking really nice. I love the shine that it has. Right here we have the Mudhorn insignia. Then we do have his bandolier with some ammunition and some other things. Not a whole lot of stuff going on, but you can see some sculpting work on there. One thing that's kind of weird on this guy is that some areas are a little bit shinier than others, as you can see right there. I don't know what's up with that, but you know, not a big deal. Everything still looks really good. You can see that we have some details on the forearm. MCU Collector pointed out in his review that the forearm pieces are a little bit smaller on him than they are on some other figures. And, you know, I don't see a huge problem with it other than some of the details are kind of harder to see. That's all. But it still looks good. And then back here we have, you know, the little hook that holds the hilt for the Darksaber, but this thing is kind of weak. I wish it like clipped on there so it didn't fall. This like comes off super easy. So yeah, they could have done better with that. And then we do have the jetpack that looks really nice. I like that they used a softer plastic so you don't have to worry about these little pieces breaking. So that's always nice. And then we do have the soft goods cape that looks really good. Let's take this off real fast. But yeah, man, this is nice. Does have some holes in it and stuff, so they did a great job with that. Right here we have the holster. Oh, and we do have his gun. I've seen this gun a bunch of times, so nothing special or new, but it does the job for sure. Check out the forearms there. We have the holster. Moving down into the legs. Everything looks good down here. Oh, he does have his knife that goes into the boot, and this knife is super small. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with any hands that are able to hold that knife. That's the one problem I have with this figure, but yeah, man, I think they did a great job with the details, the sculpting, the paint. Everything about this figure looks incredible, so they killed it with the look. And aside from his blaster and the little knife, the only other accessory Mando comes with is the Darksaber. And, you know, I appreciate that he came with the weapons and stuff, but really this is the only area where this figure kind of fails, because in my opinion, these accessories are kind of whack. Like the blaster's dope, the Darksaber's dope, but he can't even really hold the Darksaber. I mean, you could kind of get it in there, but it's never like tight and sturdy, and you know, it just always kind of feels like it's gonna fall out. And the little knife can't be held anywhere. So yeah, as far as accessories go, I think Mando is kind of weak. They really need to put some extra hands in here, and that would really fix everything, because then he could hold all the other weapons, or you could get like some expressive poses, maybe with some fists or open hands or something like that. I think really that's the only thing Black Series is really missing at this point. Hands, extra hands. That would really go a long way with these guys. So I've heard a lot of people say that this new Black Series Mando is hands down the best Mandalorian figure in this scale. So we're gonna do some very quick and general comparisons with some of my favorite Mandalorian figures and see how he stacks up against the competition. But before we start, I will say I love all these figures. I think that each company did a great job with the character. None of them are perfect. Each one of them has their flaws, but I really think these figures are awesome. Figure Arts did a great job. Hasbro's done a good job. Mafex did a good job. And it's really cool to have so many different options for Mandalorian. Like I said, none of them are perfect, but all of them are awesome in their own way. So good stuff. But let's go ahead and start it off with the new Black Series version and how he compares to an older Black Series version. And I'm not 100% sure exactly what they call this one. It's the one that has the removable helmet. And I believe he came with like a bunch of credits and a jetpack and all kinds of cool stuff, but I don't have his jetpack on him, unfortunately. A lot of the Black Series Mandalorian figures have been very similar, but as you can see, the new Mandalorian figure looks so much more realistic. Like the proportions look really good. It actually looks like a guy wearing a suit. Over here, you know, he's a little bit skinnier and doesn't look quite right. It's still a great looking figure, but I would say that the new one looks so much better. And I like the shine on the armor a lot more too. Like it's a little bit more muted over here. It's got a little bit of a shine, but it looks way nicer on this new one. I think the sculpted details are a lot better. And then of course he does have that soft goods cape back there, which makes things so much better. But yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that these two are from the same company, because it's like night and day. The new Mando definitely feels like a step above like most other Black Series figures, and that's really apparent when you compare him to another Mandalorian figure. I still think the older Black Series Mando figures are pretty nice though, but let's go ahead and put him back there. And then next up we have the version 1 of Figure Arts, and once again I think the proportions on the Black Series version are just so much better. It looks like a guy in a suit with some armor on. With the Figure Arts one, his head was very small, and also it sat really low, so I did kind of have to cheat on this one. He does have a new neck peg that brought his head up just a little bit, and you know, it still doesn't look quite right, but it looks better than it did. And yeah, I would say that this new one just looks so much better. It looks more realistic. The Figure Arts one kind of looks like an animated interpretation of Mando, but the new Black Series looks like he jumped right out of the TV show, so that's awesome stuff. And then taking a look at the two jetpacks, I mean, yeah, look at them. They both look really great. Man, I'm surprised at what a good job Hasbro did on their jetpack. It looks just like the Figure Arts one, but it's more durable. You know, you don't have to worry about things breaking. Like the plastic is softer, and yeah, it doesn't feel as rigid. So that's really nice. And as far as the soft goods go, I think I like the cape on the Figure Arts one a little more, or at least I like the material more. It kind of feels just like some regular cloth. On the Black Series, it's like this stretchy material. But yeah, I think both of these figures are great, but I would say the Black Series one probably clears this one pretty easily, just off looks alone. There we go. And there's some other things we're going to discuss about some accessories and all that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But Here we have the Figure Arts version 2. And once again, man, I just think that the Black Series one has better proportions and just looks the way it should. It looks more realistic and more accurate than both of the Figure Arts ones. This, again, I love the version 2. This was probably, I don't know if I want to say it's my favorite Mando, but I like this one a lot. Like, the version 2 came out really, really good. His cape is black. That kind of feels a little inaccurate. The way that you mount the weapons onto the Figure Arts figures is pretty ridiculous. Like, you don't have that headache when it comes to the Mando figure, but obviously you don't have as many weapons and accessories to really worry about. But even something as simple as just like, you know, putting the gun in the holster, like, this is a whole fucking, it's all crazy. You got to like take this thing off and get like a different type of strap or whatever. With the Black Series one, you could just put the gun into the holster and call it a day. And it's very easy, low maintenance, and not really a headache. That's one thing about the Figure Arts figures. Like, all their accessories are cool and everything, but a lot of them were kind of a headache to deal with. So the shine on the armor is really nice on the Figure Arts one. But again, I think the shine on the Black Series one is like perfect. It's not too much, but it's not too muted either, you know? It looks just like it did in the show. But yeah, look at that, man. The Black Series one just like captures the look perfectly. And, you know, I think like one thing that's going to be true when comparing the new Black Series against any of these is that all of them have better articulation than this new one. So that's one thing. But I will say the articulation on the new one is serviceable, so it's fine, but all these other ones have better articulation. Like, obviously he's got like double jointed elbows, so you're going to be able to do that. But, you know, you could almost get his arm to move that much anyways, so it's not really a big deal. It's more of an issue with the legs because, like, check this out. You know, he's got his knee, and we'll, you know, go through all the articulation when we look at that. But yeah, just taking a look at the knee, like, that's like a weird bend there, and it's only single joint. Here, like, you get more range, not like a crazy amount more, but it just doesn't look as awkward either, you know? It looks like how a knee should look. So yeah, that's one huge thing that all these figures have over this new one is the articulation. And I will say, like, for the import stuff, you know, they feel like import figures. I do feel like the Black Series Mando, it feels better than most Black Series figures, but it still feels like a Black Series figure. And, you know, if you collect Black Series and imports, you know what I mean by that. Like, the joints don't move as smoothly as they do as on import figures and, you know, things of that nature. But yeah, when comparing these two, like, I think the Black Series version does clear the first version. I don't know if it quite clears the second version. I don't know. For me, the look for sure, but I like playing with this one quite a bit because of the articulation. You know, it's fun to handle, but then it does have all these weird like pieces for the accessories, and that kind of takes away some of the fun factor, and it's expensive, so it's kind of like, you know, you're going to be scared to handle it as much as you would with the Black Series. You're always going to kind of be thinking about that when you're playing with the figure. The Black Series, it's not as expensive. You could like grab it, mess around with it, and it's not as stressful. Like, I'll throw this new Black Series in my pocket. It'll be my pocket figure. This one, the Figure Arts, I just pick them up every now and then, and I go, oh, that's cool. Then I put it back on the shelf. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one I like better out of these two. And same thing is going to be said for the Mafex version. Again, both of these are really dope. I think that the Mafex one has some pretty good proportions, but not quite as good as the Black Series, huh? Like, the chest is kind of like smaller, and yeah, I don't know. Like, when I see these side by side, I think before getting this new one, the Mafex might have been my favorite. I think I like him more than the Figure Arts version 2. I think I could say that confidently. But then when I put him next to the Black Series one here, it's like, man, the Black Series one looks better just standing there. That's the thing. Damn. And I'm not a huge fan of the helmet on the Mafex version. I'm going to do some head swaps in a minute, and you'll see that when you put the helmet from the Black Series onto the Mafex, it looks pretty damn awesome. But yeah, I don't know which one I like best out of these two either. Again, some of the same things apply as far as like the hand candy aspect. Like, you know, the joints and stuff on the Figure Arts move a lot smoother. He's a lot more fun to handle. But again, it's an expensive figure, so you're always going to be thinking about that. The Black Series one has everything he needs for a a Mandalorian figure, but it's not, doesn't cost $100. So it's going to be a little bit more enjoyable just to grab and play with. Yeah, so, just straight up like that, I don't know which one I like better out of these two. It's very close. It's very close. I will say the Black Series one looks better. That's for sure. Damn, it's crazy. Crazy to say that. So one thing I think that really holds the Black Series back is the accessories. Mostly hands. Like if he had extra hands, that would definitely... Oh man, that'd make it really hard for me to justify any of these other Mandalorian figures. Even with the articulation advantages that they have. Just giving him extra hands would have been, oh man, that would have been amazing. Because with the import Mandalorian figures, for the most part, you get everything that you need. You get all kinds of different weapon effects, different weapons, different hands, all kinds of stuff. With figure arts, I think it's too much. I think they complicated it and gave more accessories than they really needed to. They should have simplified things and, they would have had to pack less in there. But anyways, I love all the hands. That's the main things. The hands. If the Black Series version had hands, like extra hands, fists, open hands, all that type of shit, I think I would just say that he's my favorite and call it a day, even with the articulation disadvantages. So yeah, man, hands would go a long way. Give us some damn hands. I think that's really where the difference is with all these. Like if you just the figures, all of them are pretty close to each other. But if you want to get some crazy accessories, the import versions are the ones that are going to give you all that. But as far as like the figures go, again, none of them are perfect, but each of them has their advantages. If you want like the best looking Mando, I would say that the Black Series one is probably the one to go. The best looking and the most screen accurate. But if you want one that has more articulation, any of the import ones would be good to go. So yeah, I don't know, man. I can't tell you which one I think is best, but I think that all of them are awesome, and it's nice to have so many options. So one of the best things about the Black Series Mando is definitely the sculpt and the size on the helmet. So I wanted to do a couple of head swaps. Here's the first one. This is the Black Series helmet on the Figure Arts version 1 Mando, and I think that looks pretty damn good, to be honest with you. Check that out. I think the shine on the helmet matches pretty well with the armor on the body, and yeah, I think that looks nice. So here we have the Black Series helmet on the Figure Arts Mando version 2. And yeah, once again, this looks really, really dope. I'm so happy that the armor matches close enough to get away with it, with the helmet. It all just kind of goes together really nice. And I think the size works. So yeah, I think that's a good option. And this may be my favorite of the three. What we have here is the Black Series helmet on the Mafex Mando. And I think that looks really, really dope. The shine on the metal of the head and the armor match perfectly. On the other ones, they matched well enough, but here I feel like they are almost identical. It works really well. But I think this looks great right here. I wasn't a huge fan of the helmet on the Mafex version. Like, it's okay, but the one on the Black Series version is a lot better. And, you mash them up like this, pretty much have like a perfect looking Mando, in my opinion. I don't know. I like it quite a bit. I think this looks nice. And to do any of these head swaps, you're going to have to get some like blue tack or make some type of modification. This head didn't pop on to any of these bodies. Obviously, like with imports, the pegs are much different than they are on the Hasbro figures. But, it's definitely, there's some options there. If you want to do some head swaps, you could kind of put together your perfect Mando. And for some very quick size comparisons, here we have Mando alongside the Black Series Bo-Katan and the Black Series Death Watch Mandalorian. Next up, we have him alongside the Black Series Deluxe Boba Fett and the Black Series Mandalorian Armorer. And then here we have him alongside the Black Series Mandalorian Ahsoka and the Black Series Captain Rex. To get him with some bad guys, here we have him alongside the Black Series Moff Gideon and the Black Series Dark Trooper. And lastly, of course, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. I think the articulation on Mando is pretty good. You could definitely have a lot of fun playing around with it, and I feel like you could get him into pretty much any type of pose that you'd want Mandalorian to get into. He does have like the new style of articulation that Black Series has. A couple of years ago, they kind of changed the articulation setup. They took away double jointed elbows and double jointed knees, and I think for the most part, it's been okay. I don't think that it really negatively impacts a lot of their figures. Before, when they did used to have double jointed elbows, there'd be like a lot of characters that had elbow pads or something like that, and it would kind of get in the way of the double joint. So it's not like it really functioned like a double jointed elbow anyways. So I really don't mind the change, but there are some areas where I wish it was a little better executed, specifically the knees. But you know, for the most part, from a posability standpoint, I think you could pretty much do anything that you'd want to do with these Black Series figures. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it, starting off at the head. He does have movement at the upper neck and the lower neck, thankfully. That's really nice, so we get some really dope tilting action there. He could look side to side. He could look up to about right there, which is pretty decent. And then he could look down to about right there, which is nice. So good stuff going on at the head. And then for the torso, I'm pretty impressed with what we have going on here, because he does have a diaphragm cut, but you know, the torso is covered by the armor and you know, some other things, the belts, all that kind of stuff is kind of in the way. But I do feel like he gets some pretty decent movement. You can crunch him forward to about right there. Again, you know, obviously it's not a whole lot, but I feel like the torso movement on him is better than a lot of Mandalorian figures. You get some nice side to side going. You could go back to about right there. And I kind of want to get an extra one to see if I can modify the torso, because I feel like if you pop things apart and maybe like do some trimming, you may be able to get some more movement out of there. But as it is, we get some nice side to side and a little bit of crunch forward. So yeah, I don't mind the torso at all. And then for the arms, we do get a butterfly joint, which is pretty cool, but you know, it's not the greatest butterfly joint ever. And then for the arms, you know, he's got like the shoulder pads that are on like that ring system. So the arm can move independently from the shoulder pad, or if you kind of like line it up correctly, you can move the shoulder pad along with the arm. So that's a really good way to do a shoulder pad setup. I like that a lot. And then the arms could come out to the side a really nice amount, even with the shoulder pads there. So that's dope. But when you bring the arms down, the shoulder pads kind of stick up. So you got to bring them back down as well. It'd be nice if they got crazy with it and put them on a hinge, but you know, it's a little much for a Black Series figure. And then at the elbow, he has a single joint, like we mentioned before, but the single joints on the elbow are actually pretty nice. You get some good range. Look at that. A little bit more than 90. And then he does have like forearm rotation. And then on the hands, on the left side, we just have a standard in and out hinge, and then, you know, we could rotate. And then on the right side, we have rotation and then a trigger finger vertical hinge hand. So that's nice. So yeah, good stuff on the upper body. And then for the legs, no drop down hips or anything, but he could kick forward to right there. Could go back to about right there, but it flares out right away. He could kick to the side. Ooh, let's see what we have going. Oh, nice. He could kick to the side a pretty decent amount. Look at that. Boom. I'll take that. And then he does have upper thigh swivel. There we go. And then for the knee, he has a single joint. And I don't mind it being a single joint. I just think they cut it too low. The upper thigh looks longer than it should. And then the lower leg here, the calf, looks kind of shorter than it should. I don't know. I just think it needs to be a little bit higher. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I mean, I don't hate it or anything, because, you know, I don't know. I think that for the most part, you could kind of get away with most poses, but I don't think it's ideal. I think that like this needs to come up just a little bit. And then it does have a hinge in there as well, so that's nice. And then at the foot, he has a hinge, so you could bring his foot way down, and then up to right there. And then he has rocking ankles and no swivel or anything, because you kind of have the swivel at the knee there. But yeah, no lower leg swivel. But yeah, man, I think the articulation is pretty good on him. Again, it's your standard Black Series articulation, so no surprises or anything, but I think you pretty much could do everything that Mando would need to do, and it's fun to play with. And yeah, I think they did a good job with it. I really think they just need to adjust the knee area. Like on this side here, I feel like, you know, you have enough room to come up. Same thing here, just come up to where like the knee pad is at. So it's kind of a weird choice. The articulation setup on these guys is basically what they've been doing on Vintage Collection, and I think like that whole leg problem isn't as apparent on Vintage Collection because they're smaller. But yeah, on Black Series, it could be an eyesore. Shout out to Art with Toys. We were doing a live the other day, and he mentioned maybe switching the legs out with one of the older Mandalorian figures that has double jointed knees. And at first I was like, I don't know if I need to do that, but now I was kind of looking at the figures and like I feel like it wouldn't be too hard or anything. So I may have to do that, but I think I'm gonna wait until I get an extra one of these to modify it. Maybe modify the torso, switch out the legs, and see how it comes out. But yeah, man, I do think it's a really fun figure to play around with. It just has some fundamental flaws, you know, but I like what we have going on here.
Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I think this is a really great figure. Hasbro really did a nice job on this guy, and I would say that it's by far the best Mandalorian figure the Black Series has given us so far. They really killed it. I love the way it looks. The proportions are pretty much perfect, which is something that we haven't really seen on a Mandalorian figure yet, so I think they did a great job with the size of the helmet and the chest and everything. The figure looks really good. It's very well sculpted. The armor looks nice. It's got a really nice amount of shine to it, and that's really where this figure shines, you know, like just the visual presentation and everything. As far as the articulation goes, some people aren't really the biggest fans of like the changes that Hasbro has made on Black Series. I'm okay with it, but obviously there are some shortcomings, so you know, it would be nice to get a little bit more, but I am fine with what's going on here. But I really wouldn't say that the articulation is amazing or anything. It's just enough for the character. The only area in which I think they kind of like drop the ball is the accessories, and that's not unique to Mando here. That's basically the case with all of the Black Series figures. They really need to start including extra hands with these guys. Like, I'm sure people who review Black Series figures more often probably say that all the time, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but man, it's just so crazy that they don't include more hands, because if this Mando had hands, man, it would definitely make it a lot harder to even think about any of the other import options out there, you know? So I really wish they would start giving these guys some extra hands and some more accessories in general. But aside from that, I think this is an amazing figure, and it's a reminder of how good Hasbro can do when they kind of put their all into it, you know? I think with this guy, they went all out, and I think it's a great figure. One thing with Black Series, I really do wish they would adjust the knee articulation. It sits a little low. I don't mind like single joints, but just the placement of the joint seems a little bit off. It's not like a deal breaker, but it's something I think they could improve on. As far as like whether or not this is the best Mandalorian out there, that's really hard for me to say. I don't think that I could I don't think I could say that quite yet at this point. Maybe if they re-release it with the deluxe version, like maybe adjust the knees, maybe give it a bunch of extra hands, and then, you know, at that point we'd be talking. But, you know, with that said, it's not like I could point to another Mandalorian figure and say, no, that one's the best, or no, I like that one better. He's right up there with a lot of the other ones, so that says a lot, especially for a Black Series figure. But yeah, let me know in the comments which Mandalorian you think is the best. I do have the Mafex version 2 on pre-order, and I think I'm gonna have to get that SH Figure Arts and Grogu set, and then maybe we could do like a full-on comparison, like an actual like who did it better type of thing. But yeah, let me know which one you like the most in the comments below. I would appreciate it. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. Peace.